He is Hayes Carlyon, our Jaguars beat reporter. You could read his work, his Jaguars blog, on 1010XL.com, presented by Superior Fence and Rail. And, of course, you hear him every weekday afternoon on The Frangie Show. And, Hayes, it doesn't seem too long ago it was the Jags in the AFC Championship game. We just had a draft, and all of a sudden, it's OTAs for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sort of spring football in the NFL. It's an exciting time for the Jaguars. Probably the best the roster's been in over a decade. And it's going to be an exciting 10 practices. It's voluntary, so that'll be the first order of business tomorrow. Is we're going to meet with Doug Marrone before the first practice, so we'll see what kind of information he reveals on that, but then we get to watch it, so it won't take long to figure out who decided to come, who didn't. And again, it's voluntary, but it does give you an idea of, I think, the guys that are here, I think it says something when they're here. The guys that aren't here, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but they've got to be ready to go for that 3-day mandatory minicamp in the middle of June. So that'll be the first thing, but there'll be a lot of things to watch. I mean, it'll really be an exciting 10 practices when you think of the free agents that are stepping into big-time roles, the draft picks who they're counting on to build some depth, and there's some intriguing guys that need to step up into bigger roles, and some kind of guys that probably are on the outside of the bubble but still have an opportunity to play their way onto the roster.
Yeah, and you kind of wrote that on 1010XL.com, some of your big question marks that you have for the OTAs coming up and everything. And one of those questions does involve the new guys. You know, Dante Moncrief being one of those, DJ Hayden, Taven Bryan as well, the draft pick for the Jags. So a lot of new faces and everything. Who are you going to be most excited to kind of see step on the field and try to show what they can do and, showing that they belong here?
Sure. Well, in this format, there's no contact, so I think you're going to learn more the further you're away from the ball. So that would be Dante Moncrief, DJ Chark, DJ Hayden in the nickel. Although, depending on who's here or who's not, DJ Hayden may play on the perimeter for the majority of OTAs. We'll have to monitor that. So I think you'll get a pretty good sense of those guys. Ronnie Harrison, the third-round safety out of Alabama, we'll get a really good sense of him. But I think when you get on the lines of scrimmage, because there's no contact, Taven Bryan, I mean, his skill set is his burst off the ball. That is something that could come across even in non-contact. Norwell, obviously, was their prized free agent acquisition, the left guard. Probably not going to see a ton out of him. Probably won't be able to make an assessment on how he is fitting in until the pads go on in training camp. But there is a lot to like. And again, there's a rookie draft pick quarterback. That always adds a little interesting element to OTA. So we'll see with what Tanner Lee has. I don't think people are expecting a ton. 6th round pick, but again, lightning sometimes strikes, and so Tanner Lee will be somebody certainly worth monitoring. And then Will Richardson. Again, it's tough to get much on the lineman, but at right tackle, be very interested to see the agility that he has. Do we see him in some reps against Fowler and Ngakoue? See sort of how he handles Ngakoue's speed, if he's able to, if he's put in that situation. So a lot of things that we'll be keeping a close eye on once the Jaguars get on the field for OTAs.
Final thing, it is now the second year under head coach Doug Marrone. We saw how he did things last year in his first year as being the head coach. Still the same? Will it be status quo, or will we see some other differences with it now being Marrone's second OTAs as being the head coach for the Jags?
I don't think they're going to change much, and I think that's probably the right call. I mean, when you go from 3 wins to 12, I think you want to keep everything sort of on the same path. So from an intensity standpoint, there's not much Doug Marrone can do because of how he's sort of handcuffed by the CBA in terms of contact and things like that, how long they can go. But I think it'll give you an idea, and I'm sure there'll be a heavy emphasis on special teams, particularly with the moves they made in free agency, like Cody Davis, Don Carey, Niles Paul. So I would expect over the first couple of days of OTAs, you'll see a big emphasis on special teams as well.
He is Hayes Carlyon. Again, you can read his work on 1010XL.com, his Jaguars blog presented by Superior Fence and Rail, and you hear him every weekday afternoon on The Frangie Show on 1010XL. Hayes, as always, thanks for the time.
Thank you.